The fifth day in the fifth month, that is a 5/5, the month of May, as a day for us to stay healthy. And talking about healthiness is to talk about the World Hand Hygiene Day that has been set aside by the World Health Organization. Of course, this is IKD 106.1 FM, and of course, today in the studio, I have a medical practitioner, a doctor, who will do justice to the conversation. This is how we do the issues here at IKD 106.1 FM every Monday through Friday. And of course, on Thursdays like this, we have a healthy conversation. Hand hygiene is the most important measures to avoid the transmission of harmful germs and prevent what is called health care associated infections. However, our focus today on the issues will be on the 2023 World Hand Hygiene Day. And of course, the reason why such a day like this is set aside by the World Health Organization. My name is Adebambo Okpayami. A very short breather would suffice. And when I return, my guest on the issues today in person of Dr. Debola Ojikutu, all the way from Ikorodu General Hospital, will help enlighten us on the conversation. Stay tuned. It is the issues on IKD 106.1 FM. Again, I say good morning to you, Lagosians. Good morning to Nigeria as a whole. I told us that the World Health Organization has deemed it fit that a day such as the fifth day in the month of May, which is tomorrow, should be a day for the World Hand Hygiene Day. However, the campaign has begun today, and that is why we have Dr. Debola Ojikutu from Ikorodu General Hospital to do justice to the conversation. The first question I would like to ask you, Doctor, is how important is it for us to wash our hand? The reason is because in most cases, we only want to wash our hand maybe before we eat, after we eat, and then maybe when we want to use the restroom. How important is it for us to always wash our hands regularly?
All right, thank you for that. It is extremely important actually for us to perform good hand hygiene. Hand hygiene everywhere is the same as saying hand washing. So wash your hands, keep hand hygiene. Now, the importance here is that most of the microorganisms that we have in our environment can live in our hands for very long periods.
Wow.
And most of us do a lot of things with our hands on a daily basis. So the hand is like the most effective way for microorganisms to be kept and transmitted from one person to another. So the more we perform hand hygiene, the higher the chances of reducing spread of organisms and infections generally. So it's very important for us.
It's very important. That is the voice of Dr. Ojikutu from Ikorodu General Hospital. He would help enlighten us more, talk about this special day that has been set aside. If I'm not mistaken, it's of course tomorrow, but then campaign has begun already. Now let's take a look at the theme for this year's World Hand Hygiene Day. It is said to be Accelerate Action Together, Save Lives, and Clean Your Hands. What brought about this theme for the year?
So over the years, we've been advocating for good hand hygiene, proper hand washing, and we've realized that it's not just about the healthcare practitioners, it's not just about those working in the hospitals, it's about everybody. Now, the COVID-19 pandemic exposed us to a lot of dangers, and it showed us that we have not been doing the right thing over the years. So now we are trying to intensify on the efforts we made during the COVID-19 pandemic and ensure that everybody is on board with hand washing. So it means that both those working in the hospitals, visitors in the hospitals, patients, people at their workplaces, everybody in the population should take hand hygiene seriously and make it something they do regularly. So that's why the theme for this year is to accelerate the action we've made so far. So let's do more. Let's intensify efforts to ensure
let's do beyond what we've been doing.
Exactly.
So if I may ask, I was trying to make some research on this day that has been set aside by the World Health Organization. How long has this World Hand Hygiene Day been in existence? For how long?
Well, so historically, hand hygiene started about 1847 thereabout.
Wow.
And that was when an Hungarian medic working in Vienna General Hospital realized that most of their patients were dying from childbed fever. So a mother delivers, and in a few days she's dead. And they began to wonder what was going on. Unfortunately or fortunately for them, then they had two different wards. They had wards where the doctors were covering and a ward covered by midwives. And they realized that the death toll in the wards where the doctors were covering was even higher than that of the midwives. So something must be wrong.
Definitely.
And he thought about it and realized that, the doctors would go to the lab downstairs, maybe the cadaver room. They are working on dead bodies, trying to find out what killed the patient, how they can make medicine better. And they'll get a call that somebody is in labor, and they'll leave from that cadaver room straight to the labor ward and take delivery with their hands. So these same hands that they've been working on cadavers is the same thing they used to take the delivery. So he realized that maybe it was that process that caused...
That could be the reason.
The reason for the childbed fever. So he decided to use chlorine solution and say, oh, when you are leaving the cadaver room, just dip your hand in chlorine solution for about 20 seconds before you take the delivery. And they realized that the death toll reduced from about 18% to 1%. So that was extremely good for them at that time. And that's where the story of hand hygiene and hand washing began from.
That's fantastic. So how best can we as citizens wash our hands?
Right. So the good thing now is that chlorine solution was then in 1847. Now we are talking about hand washing with just soap and running water. In fact, even alcohol hand-based hand drops. So soap and running water is ideal for adequate hand washing. So now chlorine solution isn't what we are talking about now. We are talking about hand washing just with soap and running water. So if you have that, you're good to go. 100%.
So if you're saying just soap and water is fine, how well? Sometimes when we look at our hands, we say it's clean. So they'll tell you, some will tell you, I don't need to wash my hands. My hands are already clean. So why do I need to get soap and water? And how about those of us that just will decide to use just water rather than add soap to it?
So let's look at it from this point of view. I talked about the story of the doctor in Vienna General Hospital.
Yes.
Now, he got a backlash from people then. Because then people studying medicine were nobles, princes, people were regarded as cream of the society. They are supposed to be clean. So you can't come and say that we are the ones killing the patients.
Exactly.
Because our hands are dirty. But that was because, as at that time, people didn't know about microorganisms. It was later on that research and all that came up, and we said that, microorganisms actually stay in our hands regardless of how clean they look. So even if you are polishing your hands with all sorts of things, doesn't mean you don't have microorganisms there. So that's why we said everybody should be involved in hand washing, regardless of how clean you think you are. Now, for soap and running water, WHO has made a lot of research, and we found out that for those that wash their hands with just water, they do not remove as much microorganisms as they should until you add soap. Now, soap helps to do a lot of things. The lather that you create from the soap helps to dissolve the microorganisms, defense mechanisms. So you can break down those microorganisms just by using that soap. Even your friction does a lot of work, because the heat generated can also kill some microorganisms. So if you use soap and water, you are likely to do the best form of hand washing.
So it's always advisable to use the soap and water method. 2023 World Hand Hygiene Day by World Health Organization has come to stay, whether we like it or yes. And of course, it's a good one, I must tell you. Now, I would like for us to take a look at the strategies Ikorodu General Hospital, specifically for the people in Ikorodu community, the strategies that are being put in place or are intended to be in place. You know, it's tomorrow and people should be aware. So tell our listeners, how do you intend to propagate the gospel?
So as Hospital, General Hospital Ikorodu, we pride ourselves with being up to date with everything going on around us. And with the magnanimity of the MD, it's not just about hand washing day now.
Okay.
Now, we've started this even way during the COVID-19 pandemic. If you go to General Hospital Ikorodu now, you can find a lot of hand washing points, even from the gate. Every department has a hand washing point, because we know that if we encourage our people to do these things, they get used to it.
Definitely.
And if they are used to it, it means they will do it outside the hospital. So even at home, people will remember to, let me wash my hand. That's what they taught us in the Ikorodu General Hospital.
Exactly.
We also do awareness campaigns within the hospital, talk to our patients, talk to those that come visiting about hand washing. And that is one thing that the Infection Prevention and Control Committee in the hospital has been taking as a very serious business. We do trainings from time to time regularly for old and new intakes into the hospital. We talk to patients, relatives, and even our patients on the wards. And we are also planning to go to a market tomorrow.
Wow.
I'm just saying that so we cannot be aware. That's in the works. Definitely tomorrow we'll be in one of the markets in Ikorodu, talking to the populace and people in the market about World Hand Hygiene Day. So we are doing a lot as a hospital, and we are hoping that people would encourage us and also join us in this fight against microorganisms.
You being here is also one of the strategies
Definitely.
To propagate the gospel. And I must say you're doing so very well. It is still the issues on IKD 106.1 FM. And of course, every Thursday such as this, we have Ikorodu General Hospital with us in the studio to talk about health. Our health is important. They say health is wealth. However, it is important for us to have this awareness all around. Talk about the World Hand Hygiene Day. Now, I would ask this question again. Most times when we talk about how well we should brush our teeth, sometimes ago we had a doctor from your hospital who I think she said you should brush at least 3 times in a day. We've had the doctors who will talk about how you bathe and all of this. Then when we talk about our hands, how well should we wash our hands? Is it twice a day or just like the 3 square meal? How do we take care of our hands? How well do we wash our hands? Like, is there a particular number to washing of our hands?
So for hand hygiene, there's actually no caveat as to how many times you should wash your hands. In fact, they said that as many times as possible. So if you are sitting and just remember that the last time I washed my hand was like an hour ago. I've gone to greet my neighbor, my colleague at work, I've touched the table, I've gone to the bathroom, let me just wash my hands. So it should be as many times as possible. And that's why we also encourage the alcohol-based hand rubs. It might not be easy for everybody to go to the tap to use running water and soap every time.
Exactly.
So alcohol-based hand rub also works. So you're on your seat and you remember that I've not done this in a while. Why not put out some gel in your hand and rub them together? Now, for alcohol-based hand rub, we advise that you do it for 20 to 30 seconds. It's not just about putting it on the hands and just rub and you say you're good. No. There's a timing to it because the longer the microorganism is exposed to that chemical, the higher your chances of eliminating it. So we say 20 to 30 seconds for alcohol-based hand rubs, but if you're using soap and water, we advise that you do 40 to 60 seconds. These are WHO standards. It's not somebody that just sat down
and propagated
that. No, it's something that research has shown that is as effective. So when you do it for 40 to 60 seconds with soap and running water, you are good to go. So as many times as possible. In fact, I can say, why not make it an habit? Say every hour I want to wash my hands. It's not too much.
The awareness campaign has begun today here at IKD 106.1 FM. And of course, Ikorodu General Hospital has begun this campaign. Talk about one of their very vast medical practitioner in person of Dr. Debola Ojikutu, who is doing justice to the conversation in the studio. Before I would let you go, I'd also, you talked about some of these microorganisms that are found in the hand. These are microorganisms that we cannot see with our physical eyes, but then they are very harmful. So let's look at some of the diseases. Take, for instance, the time of coronavirus. You know, so many people did not even know about coronavirus. But for me, I used to tell people that coronavirus was just a patient disaster waiting to explode. And then everybody deemed it fit to wash their hands. So tell us, some of these organisms that we can't see, what are the sicknesses that it might transform to in the human body system? Because we never can tell. Maybe if we don't wash our hands properly, the next thing might be malaria, it might be typhoid. Let's look at some of the disasters, the disadvantages of not washing our hands properly.
All right, thank you. So let's look at the broad term. Now, microorganisms just mean small organisms. They are small. You can't see them. Now, there are different types of microorganisms. You have viruses, you have bacteria, you have fungi. There are so many of them, and they can all cause different forms of illnesses. So I'll just take one or two. Let's talk about COVID-19, like you know. COVID is a viral infection, and as at that time, people were confused as to how did it come about, how is it being transmitted. But we realized that performing good hand hygiene alone drastically reduced the transmission of COVID. So it means that, even if this organism is in my hands, as long as I wash them, I'm not likely to contaminate myself or contaminate somebody else. Now look at the general flu. Everybody talks about flu. I have catarrh, I have flu. Flu is a viral infection. Now, it can stay in the hands for days. So somebody is sneezing, is coughing around you, does that with his hands, you end up shaking the person, you don't perform hand hygiene, you would actually contaminate yourself, and 2-3 days down the line, you're also having catarrh and cough. So those are some of those organisms. Even people that prepare meals, like restaurants, we talk about good hand hygiene for them, because things like typhoid, cholera, dysentery, those are things that come from contaminated hands. So if we don't perform good hand hygiene, you can have outbreaks of cholera. And cholera is very, very disastrous, and it's not something we pray to have anytime. Not even have again. So it's important for us to understand that there are so many infections or problems that can come from not washing our hands. So it's important to actually perform good hand hygiene.
Ignorance could be very dangerous, I must tell you. So what will you tell people like this that use the same water repeatedly? Sometimes it happens even some places where we eat. These bukas, these eateries and all of that. What would your advice be?
So it's important to understand that the concept of hand washing is running water and soap. So it's important to understand that you don't need stagnant water, and it means it's not reusable. So if somebody has washed his hands in a particular bowl, then nobody else should go there, because you will only be picking up something the person had already left.
Exactly.
So that person has washed his hands is fine, but you will go there and pick up whatever organism he has washed into that bowl, and you take it home with you. So for good, proper hand hygiene, it should be running water and soap. Not reusable water, not same water somebody has washed their hands with. It's very, very important to understand that concept. And also it helps us to prevent infection. It also reduces antimicrobial resistance. You have to you have cough every time, catarrh every time. You are taking one antibiotic or the other. When you finally need that antibiotic to do its work, it probably won't work because you're already resistant to it. But simple hand hygiene can prevent all that story. So if we do the proper thing, we'll all live a good life.
The World Hand Hygiene Day for 2023. Your advice?
Let's take hand hygiene seriously. It's a process that can help us eliminate infections, reduce hospitalizations, reduce prolonged hospital stay, prevent absenteeism from work, help us to save more. Instead of spending money on drugs, we can save that and do something better with the money that we make. So please, let's take hand hygiene seriously. Let's make it an habit and do it as often as possible. Teach your children, teach your friends. Let's all do it together. Let's accelerate this action. Let's save lives and wash our hands. Thank you.
You've heard the voice of Dr. Debola Ojikutu from Ikorodu General Hospital. I want to say a very big thank you to you and, of course, the entire management and staff of Ikorodu General Hospital. Let's see if we can take one or two calls. Hello to you.
Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning to you. Your name, please. Please go ahead. Any question?
Please, I want to ask, which advice can doctor give to we technician? We technician, when we are bones and pop-up, we buy with dirty hand and we hit it. What advice can you give to us?
Okay.
I'm a technician too.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Thank you. I think you've attended that, but then you might still do him that favor to just speak.
So, you already said with dirty hands. So I think the most important thing is that before you eat, it's better to wash your hands. As a technician, I'm sure you would have running water and soap in your establishment. So let's make it an habit that before I eat, after I eat, before I walk, after I've walked, let me wash my hands. That way, we are safe.
Let's take another call from here before we leave. Hello, good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, Ian.
Yes, good morning.
Yeah, my name is Larry. I'm calling you from Ikorodu.
Very well. Please go ahead.
Doctor, good morning.
Good morning.
You have actually highlighted, or you actually spoken 100% today. I'm not asking a question. I just want to ask you what the doctor has said. For some of us that normally eat swallow food, imagine you want to eat like kind of Eba. You not wash your hands. You take like 2 million people before you get to that stage where you want to eat. Imagine the kind of jam, kind of thing that has entered the hand. Yes, we put this swallow into our mouth without washing and everything. So this is more or less like an addition to what the doctor has said.
Yeah.
I think washing our hands is a very key thing. And it's COVID that taught us a lot of things. That taught me personally a lot of things. Now, even if I get to, if I don't have anything, any other thing, I use soap and water and wash my hands. I want to ask you what the doctor has said.
Thank you so very much, Mr. Larry. Very well said. Very, very well said. Immediately I leave the studio, I will tell you for free that I'm going to the restroom to wash my hands. It's very, very important. This is how far we can have it today on the issues. Join us every Thursday for medical conversations. This is in line with Ikorodu General Hospital. This is a way to give back to the society, I must tell you. My name is Adebambo Opayemi. God bless Nigeria, God bless Lagos, and of course, God bless the beautiful people in Ikorodu. It's a bye for now.